am sitting with Professor Kolawale Raheem at the University of Education, specifically Institute for Educational Research and Innovation Studies, and we are going to have a very short discussion on indigenous knowledge and also internationalization of African universities. To be very specific, the perspective of the University of Education. My name is Kwesi, and this is a special edition of AAU Talks. We'll go for a short break, and when we return, I will introduce my prof properly and the show continues. Don't forget that you can catch us via our social media platforms, Association of African Universities on Facebook, AAU_TV on Twitter, and also our TV website, and that is tv.au.org. We'll go for a short break. Stay tuned. We'll be back.
I feel so confident. The reason why I feel so confident, it's not because of maybe the courses just that I've been doing. I feel like I can do anything that I want to do. If you tell me to do something, even if I don't know how to do it, I'll learn, I'll take my time, I'll study hard, I'll probably not sleep for a month, but I'll do it because that's what Carnegie Mellon University have taught me, to work hard, to read hard, to spend more hours doing research. And then at the end of the day, you actually see the results of what you've been looking for.
It's very important not to be like uprooted from the ecosystem. So like the network that you built and things like that. And what happens if you move maybe to the US for some time, you sort of cut off from this your network. So it's important to have studied in Africa because that way you can maintain your network of business people that you work with. So for example, I run a small business where I work with various people, and if they wanted to have new projects to do with me, if I was not in Africa, they would not get in touch with me. For me, one of the key things was the exposure that I got. So one of them was working for IBM in Nairobi. That was something that probably would never have happened if I'd never have gone to CMU.
We are excited about the future of East Africa and our role in educating the next generation of African leaders. This is just the beginning.
If you just tune in, we are still coming to you from the University of Education, and we are sitting with Professor Kolawale Raheem, and he is from the Institute for Educational Research and Innovation Studies. Prof, you're welcome to AAU Talks.
Thank you very much. It's
How
a
are you
pleasure
doing?
to be here. Fine.
Great.
Thank you very much.
All right. So we have been having trending conversation in African higher education, and most specifically, we've been talking about internationalization. Some experts feel that in as much as we want to internationalize, we are losing our own bit of what we believe in as Africans. We are losing our own indigenous knowledge. We don't have a bargaining power, and whatever we are doing around internationalization is just from the Western education. As an expert, what do you make of such a session, and what will you provide?
That's true, but internationalization shouldn't be we forgetting our own values, forgetting our own indigenous knowledges, and so on and so forth. It should be we giving the outside world what we can give, and then taking from them what we need. It's not what they think we need. We should know what we need and take from them. That is how we can internationalize education, actually. But what we are going through up till now is still a kind of a internalization of schooling, where you school people, this is what you should do, this is what you shouldn't do, and that's it. You are not thinking.
Okay.
And that's the problem we have with the African education. We are not thinking, we don't bring the African value into our education, we don't bring the African knowledge, the indigenous activities that are real, still going on, but useful for our education, but we just think that you leave everything for the school, and that is why I call it schooling. In many cases, we take schooling to be education. It's different.
Sure.
Education is something you get from the school, from the community, and from the home. But nowadays, it's just from the school, and that is schooling. And that is why you see that we are not able to think out of the box in so many cases, when it concerns African, sustainable development.
Okay, so Prof, what must we do right in the entire process of internationalizing higher education in Africa? Because most of the time, if people are speaking about the internationalization, we are looking at how many international students you have, how can you align your courses and programs to meet the standards of international, as in the international community. What about we also coming from a perspective where they must also succumb, or they must also kind of agree to our terms in the process of internationalization? For example, you come back to Africa and everything that you are studying is so much specific to us, and not we kind of responding to their bid.
I think the major thing is with us. We have to decide, we have to understand what do we want to do. See, how do we want our people to behave? Because it's the kind of education you give people that will make them behave, somehow. See, for example, we have the University of Education here in Winneba. But you see, we have not somehow focused on what is the problem in Winneba, for example.
Okay.
We have the sea, but in the schools in Winneba and its environs, you don't see the teachers concentrating on water issues. And that should be. You see, if we're able to do that, then people will start taking us serious. They will say, oh, what they do is focusing on their problems and how to solve the problems and solve the problems. But if we wait for the Western, universities or intellectuals to come and tell us that, oh, this time we have climate problems, climate change, and then we follow. We should be able to say, okay, climate change, this is what we mean by it. It's about our seas. For them, it could be about their polar region, the ice is melting. But what concerns somebody in Winneba about melting of ice? So that is what we are yet to be able to do. And that is the problem of we, the intellectuals in Africa. We have to decide, what do we want our kids to study? How do we want them to grow? And so on and so forth. But we are not doing it. We always borrow. And that's what Professor Day mentioned when he was having interaction with one of your crew members. That, until we are able to say, this is what we want to teach, this is what we are bringing on board from our indigenous knowledge systems, then people will not take us seriously. Okay. We think of many things. Is it about democracy? Is it about farming? Is it about food making, and so on and so forth? Until we do that, and that is what we are trying to do with IRIS now. The center where I head is called Center for School and Community Science and Technology Studies. Professor Namomensa started it in 2000. And that's because he wants to show that we have a lot of activities, indigenous activities, that we could use the scientific concept and teach our children in the school. And that is true. Okay. For example, we have the gari making. And from gari making, you can teach the students things like a separation, for example, fermentation, for example. And if you teach our children that, they are used to it. It's everyday life they have been seeing. So that is what we want to do. It's not about teaching people fermentation and then you are using, you have to go to where they make a club beer. That is where you can see fermentation. But you can see fermentation even when you go between here and Kaswa. There are some people who are making the Acquah. Just get the children, let's go on an excursion and see how, and then show them what is fermentation. They will quickly absorb that, and that is how we can grow in our teaching. I don't believe that our children are dull or something. It's because we use things that are abstract to teach them.
Yeah.
If you teach them in an abstract way, then they can't
also
learn. They will be
produce-
just be imagining what you are teaching them, what it means, and so on.
Yeah, Prof, I think you are right, and it reminds me of one of my experiences where I went to a school where the teacher was using a TLM, that's a teaching learning material, who was teaching vegetables, and all that TLM had was cabbage and vegetables that the students in the village are not used to.
Exactly.
So he mentions this is cabbage, and they are looking at him until they started bringing out the pepper and everything, and they got used to it. And so what you're saying is right.
Yeah.
But based on your assertion, can we say that our education system in Africa has lost touch with reality? It is not based on any need analysis of what we have. For example, let me give you a good one. Africa, globally, Ghana and Ivory Coast produce the best cocoa. You just think of them.
Yeah,
but go back to the universities in Ghana, go back to the universities in Ivory Coast. There is no department for cocoa research. There is no faculty that goes into cocoa production. So at the end of the day, what do we seek to achieve? Is it that our education system has lost touch with reality, and what must academics do?
What we should do with the so-called academics is to face reality. We should understand that it's not only becoming a professor that makes you somebody in life.
Yeah.
We must be able to use our education to give something to the society, something we can be proud of, that yes, this one will help the community where I am or where, good. But if we continue to just produce books, we produce journals, articles, and so on, which means nothing for our people, it will be, just the same thing. I think it is now time for us to say the gown must go to the town. That means the university must move to the town.
Sure.
Do your education in the town. For example, in Finland, it's very interesting. I think it's one of the best when we talk about education in the world. Now, they are starting a kind of a system that the kids should study under the trees once a while. And then when I went in May, I asked the question that, why? They said because they want them to be in touch with the environment. But I said, you see, in Africa, we are shouting that, learning under the tree, no, it should be. I said, no, that they are moving from the, four corners inside the classroom to outside, because they need to see that from there they will get some kind of inspiration and so on and so forth. That is one thing. That is innovation. And I think we can have that. Probably that is why we named this place IRIS. You have innovation studies, in it. And I think that is what the Africans should be doing. We should be able to get to many of our indigenous people who will say, they are illiterate, they have no education. But they are very educated in their own areas. We can get to them. If it is about fishing, let us work with them.
Sure.
Let us show them that they have the knowledge. They are giving us something. I think they will be interested in giving us more. And from there, we can develop, do more studies on what we should do, and make our countries, our African continent become, a continent that will say that, well, we have our own science. It's not that it's going to be different from other sciences, but a science that takes care of your environment. It's not a science that is thinking about, how others in Europe should be able to live well. When they tell us that, you have to cut down the production of your carbon dioxide because it's affecting polar,
ozone layer and everything.
But you are not telling us what you are doing that is affecting, Ghana, Nigeria, Africa. It's because you are troubled there. You want us, you see that what we are doing is causing trouble. So, please stop. But if we are able to say, well, this is the table, this is what we are bringing to the table as Africans, then they will start to respect us. For example, we want some kind of, research to be done. The first thing we are looking at is how do we get funding?
Yeah.
And I've been asking myself the question, is it the funding that is so necessary, or to think, how do we do it? If it is possible that instead of us, spending 20,000 cedis, if we can spend 10,000 cedis, Why not? We just have to work around that. But if we are thinking that, when are we going to get, how can we get funding from Holland, from Sweden, from Europe, from USA, we won't get anywhere because they will give us the funds that they don't need. You see? But if we can say, well, this is what we want to do. For example, University of Education, Winneba, if we say, okay, all the lecturers, we have what we call UTAG, the association. So, okay, every UTAG member should pay what we say 10 cedis every month. We call it research fund. So then the money will be there. Now we ask anybody who wants to do research that we will study, we will see that, this proposal, this research will bring something good
to the university,
or to Ghana. Then we give you the funding. And even with that funding, we can now approach the government that, look, we as national or UTAG, we have gotten this money. We want the government to add more. I think the government will be ashamed if they will say, we cannot add more. Because they have seen that you have already given something, they will add more. But that is what we are not doing. The lecturers, the intellectuals in the university, they have to sit up and take, they have to be bold to say, yes, this is what we can do. It's not about, writing. We have so many researches. You go into the libraries, you see them, but nobody is using them.
All right.
But
so the community engagement is the one that is lacking.
It's the one. And I'm happy that University of Education, Winneba, they have started what we call, engagement with the community, which is good. Well, it's just the Department for Theatre Arts that is doing that. I think others will follow very soon, because they have what they call Theatre for Development. They go into the community, stay there for some time, get people, and they ask them, what are the serious problems you have? They tell them.
And through theatre,
then they will write, a play around it, and then they get even some of them to be part of playing some role. And it stays with them. Of course, we are yet to study the impact of that, and I think that is what we should study now. Whether it changes people's attitude, for example, towards waste management, and disposal of waste. I think that we can study, but I am sure it will affect, because people will see themselves as if they say, you are the Kofi who has been littering all around. It stays with you in that community, and then you want to show that, no, this is what we should do. This is what we shouldn't do.
All right. My guest is Professor Kolawale Raheem, and we are still having a wonderful discussion on what internationalization must be, still paying attention to African indigenous knowledge. We'll go for a short break. We'll be back.
Pretoria has its origins in the establishment of the Pretoria Centre of the Transvaal University College in 1908. The colloquial name of the university, Tux or Tukkies, was derived from the acronym of the college, TUC. The college opened its doors as an English language institution housed in Kaya Rosa, a 4-bedroom residential property in the centre of Pretoria. TUC started off with 4 professors, 3 lecturers and 32 enrolled students. Courses were presented in Dutch and other modern languages, English language and literature, classics which included philosophy, Latin, Hebrew, as well as natural sciences. On 10 October 1930, an Act of Parliament championed by General Jan Smuts gave rise to the name TUC, becoming the University of Pretoria. At the time, the university had more than 900 students, making it the largest tertiary institution in the country. Today, the University of Pretoria is one of the largest metropolitan universities in South Africa. It consists of 7 campuses in Hatfield, Groenkloof, Prinshof, Onderstepoort, Mamelodi, Ilovo and Hillcrest, the latter consisting of the sports campus, the experimental farm and some residences, with further residences at Hatfield, Mamelodi, Groenkloof, Prinshof and Onderstepoort. The area of UP campuses amounts to almost 1,200 hectares, with almost 700 buildings. The gross floor area of the buildings is close to 1 million square meters, with the assignable floor area at 65% efficiency. UP currently has more than 50,000 students and has become one of the leading higher education institutions on the continent and indeed the world. It now offers courses in both English and Afrikaans and has transformed from a mainly white Afrikaner institution to a multicultural, multiracial university that offers quality education to South Africans from all walks of life. Discussion themes for the HEFMA 2017 conference will include green building practices, student accommodation, the continuing insourcing-outsourcing debate, sustainable infrastructure and environmental management, to name just a few.
Welcome back from the break. If you just tuned in, you are still watching AAU Talks, and this is a special edition coming to you from the University of Education, and we are sitting with Professor Kolawale Raheem from the UEW. Now, Prof, finally, before we let you go, we want to know a lot of the inventions and innovations that is happening, what are happening under the ISA. What are you trying to do differently? What do you seek to achieve? And what should the entire higher education community expect from this beautiful edifice and what you want to do?
Yes, here we have 3 centers, as I've said. We have the one which is dealing with the basic education. We want to have researches. For example, why do we have children here in Winneba, instead of going to school during the school hours, they are there at the beach and so on? We should be able to find out what are the problems and how can we get education to them. Especially that we talk about a free education. If we still have some who are not taking that chance to have a good education or free education, we should be able to find out what are the problems, and if it is so, how can we get the education to them. Then we have
to design interventions
to design the intervention, exactly. Then we have another center which is for policies. They are trying to study the educational policies, the problems, the prospects, and so on and so forth. So that's what they stand. We think if we are doing that, for sure we will be current, and then we'll be able to bring out some problems. What can we do to solve those problems? I think that is one thing which we want to concentrate on. Then we have the Center for School and Community Science and Technology Studies. We are trying to see what are the indigenous activities our people have been doing, like the blacksmithing, because blacksmithing was there. They were, manufacturing cutlasses, hoes, and so on and so forth. So all those things, we should be able to come to understand that we had our technology, see, we had our science. What are the problems? Which are the ones that we can still continue to use, as I've indicated, studying, PITO, and knowing what are the system, the fermentation, stage, and so on and so forth. So that is what we are trying to do. We want to say that, well, there are possibilities to use the examples which our kids will see immediately after they get out from the school. There's something which we did. We supported the Winneba
secondary.
Yeah, secondary. There was a competition which actually, I think that IRS is somehow close to Carnegie also. They were trying to have a competition among schools, and then they contacted us. We spoke with them, and then we got the schools around. We got their teachers. We had the meeting here. They came from US, and then they said they should apply, you see, and then have a proposal what they will want to do concerning environment, pollution, and so on. And then, I think we had about 7 schools around here. So they gave proposal. Then the whole Ghana, I think they had 17 all in all. You see, the Winneba won, and they said, okay, they should show what they can do. It's about water pollution. What can you use locally to purify the water? And then we had a series of meetings here. They selected some very bright students in chemistry, physics, and so on. And we were here, we started to think, what can we do, to purify the water? And then we started, from the indigenous knowledge, using of charcoal, for example, using of, moringa, using of a neem tree. We did some experiments, and then we saw that, the moringa leaves and charcoal would be perfect.
Oh.
And they used that, the students, young students, they used that, and then we sent to US. They invited them for a kind of an international competition. They went, you won't believe, they won second. But they have come back, nobody is saying anything. Because such thing we should have said, oh, maybe an entrepreneur will say, oh, look, I'm going to put money on this and then do a bigger one. And if it works, then it's going to be mine. But nobody, and I'm suspecting that over there, maybe they have seen what the kids they have done, and then
They will
have
just
taken,
use it and bring it back to us.
yeah, they have seen the formula, and then now they will use it and be sending those things to us, and we will use. So those are the things we want to, and we think we are succeeding, because that is an example that it's not, they didn't take anything from anywhere outside Ghana. The leaves are here, the charcoal here, and they were able to purify, water, which we can easily, do some more researches on it, and then develop more technology concerning that. But you see, it takes time. But I think we are on the right path, and the UEW is going to be proud of that in the near future.
Thank you so much for speaking to us.
Thank you so much.
Great.
We'll be seeing you, waiting to see you again.
Great.
All right.
Viewers, we've come to the end of our beautiful discussion, and my guest today has been Professor Kolawale Raheem from the University of Education. Keep watching AAU TV. My name has always been Kwesi.